안녕 친구들. I hope you've been well. This is Grace coming to you with a quick little chapter 11 through 16 review, particularly in terms of the genealogy, how everyone, or at least everyone in the second generation, is connected. And right above, you'll see this tiny little teddy bear. Meet Jules. This is little Jules that Jules from Musings of a Twinkie sent me from Oxford University. So I thought that since I can't be in front of the camera, well, I can, but no, I'd rather not. Usually I don't like being in front of the camera anyway, but I figured since I won't be in front of the camera today, because I have something to show you, there's no need for me to be in front of the camera, that he would be my little, I guess, representative. And then on my desk, some of you already know Bentley likes to be on my desk. Bentley! Bentley! There we go. You want to say hi to everyone? Oh yeah, you heard his high sigh, right? Anyway, let's go on to this review or genealogy explanation, because I know that when I was talking to a number of people over the past few weeks, Nellie certainly, and then one of my church minions was, one of my little church minions yesterday, and she's the one who finally, convinced me to do this film. She plunked me down. She's like, Miss Grace, please explain to me how everyone's related, or what their relationship is, because I guess she didn't understand. So what I did was, I know this is so ghetto fabulously low tech, but it is what it is. So here's the thing. I wrote it down in second generation, first generation, second generation, third generation, and I tried to delineate it with male symbols and female symbols and so on. So in the first generation, we have the grandfather and the grandmother. The grandmother is now the current 회장님 of the entire group. The grandfather we know is deceased, and they had an only child, 준표. Okay, 차준표. So we find out the backstory of Min Seon and Junpyo through Rijin and her adopted mother, aka Min Seon's best friend, when they're having a conversation in episode 16, and Rijin says to her adoptive mother, "Can you now tell me the background story of my mother?" And I'll try to insert some pictures appropriately, in this video. But anyway, so what happens is Min Seon actually was in love with this guy, and I just denoted him by the male symbol, and I'll say Mr. X or question mark. Okay, this is Rijin's biological father. And when they were younger, she was in love with him, but her parents, I mean, she comes from a very affluent family too, her parents forced them apart. And he subsequently then went abroad to the States. And during that time then, Min Seon's family ended up suffering some tremendous financial loss. I can't remember if they were actually bankrupt or they just had some really tremendous financial loss. And so the father ends up marrying her to Junpyo. It's kind of like an arranged marriage, if you will. And so they marry, and of course Seon isn't in love with Junpyo, but we find out actually through a conversation that Toyeon's mom has with Junpyo as he's in that comatose state. She tells him, "I'm sorry that I clung to you when I know that you were genuinely in love with her, but I saw this as my one shot at really getting, fixing my life and getting a, having a good life for me and for my son, and so I clung to you, especially when you're in such desperate situations." And so that's kind of the situation there. Oh, by the way, for those of you who are a little distracted by my colorful pencil, it is a Dr. Seuss "Oh, the Places You'll Go" pencil, and I just like traditional wooden pencils, but I also like the fun kind, so hopefully no one's distracted by this. But anyway, so what we have is the situation here where they marry. It's not a love marriage, certainly on Seon's part, and her father-in-law happens to really appreciate her business acumen, and so on, and so he makes her president of the company. And he's always criticizing Junpyo and things like that. And so she's the favored, I guess, business, So the grandfather had every intentions of putting her in charge and bypassing Junpyo, okay? Or the father-in-law, I should say. At one point then, though, Min-seo finds out where her old guy is, and then she tells Chumpyo she wants a divorce. Chumpyo, he's had it. Frustrated, he feels rejected because the person that he loves, of course, doesn't love him back. And so he signs in anger or stamps his signature to the divorce papers, and then he takes off effectively for about a good 6 years. 6-7 years. And we don't know exactly what, other than her desire to just be done with it and go back to her first love, necessitated the divorce or the separation. But Chumpyo goes off for about 6 years. I think personally it's a little longer than that. And then in the meantime, then Minso says, here's my chance. She signs the paper, she gives, and then she takes off. At which point then the grandfather and grandmother are left with no one in the second generation at home. So fast forward about 7 years actually, and then Chumpyo shows up one day with this little boy, Cha Do-hyun, that we know of, and he only shows up because Cha Do-hyun is now at the age where he needs to go to school, and he hasn't been registered, legally. And so he comes back to his family, to his parents, and says, I'm back because, and I'll insert a picture here. He says, I'm back because I am, I have a son and he needs, a name. Well, unbeknownst to him, during that time, this guy has died off. And we don't know whether he actually married Soyeon. All we know is that Rijin is the result of that relationship. But anyway, during that time, the father-in-law had gone to the States, convinced Min So-yeon to come back to Korea with her daughter. Okay, and so we see, I'll try to insert a picture here somewhere. We see actually the birth record where Do-hyun, Cha Do-hyun, is listed under Min So-yeon and Chumpyo's name. Does that make sense? So let me see if I can clarify this, okay? Grandfather or the father-in-law goes to the United States, convinces Min So-yeon to come back to Korea. At that point, they didn't know how to get a hold of Chumpyo or anything like that. And he says, I'd like for you to take over the company. I want you to be my legal heir or whatnot. And your child I will raise as our own. And my suspicion is the father-in-law was very well aware, and I'm sure So-yeon wouldn't have, hid anything like that, that Do-hyun was not biologically Chumpyo's daughter. So anyway, she comes back, and in June of that year, the grandfather ends up putting Rijin, back then Cha Do-hyun, the little 6-year-old girl, on his genealogy records under the mother Min So-yeon and then the father Chumpyo. Okay, and then a few months after all of this takes place, Chumpyo shows up with his son, and this son, he needs a name for this son. Well, at that point, and this is why Rijin remained the nameless child for so long, and a child who mustn't be found, because you can't have two children who are literally of the same age. And so what happens is, and you see Chumpyo, and I think that's one of the reasons why Chumpyo was abusive towards her, is that she was the product of his, I guess, arch rival, and So-yeon never loved him and all of this stuff. But anyway, so Chumpyo then, I guess, and the family, I guess, decides that Cha Do-hyun, that we know of as the adult, will take the name that was hers, and so he's now legally Chumpyo and Min So-yeon's child. Does that make sense? And Do-hyun, ironically enough, is a name that could be both male or female, and so that's one of the reasons why she can't ever be linked as Do-hyun's biological mother. Otherwise, the whole fabrication of this genealogy would fall apart. And so she was kept in the basement. And I think that was one of the reasons why, So-yeon was trying to, fight, and, was in that car with her father-in-law. She had to go to the airport. And so we don't know exactly why she was going to the airport or what kind of intrigue was behind that. That I suspect is going to come in the next, 4 remaining episodes. But that's why Rijini actually was not ever mentioned in the house because she was the child who needed to remain nameless. Does that make sense? Hopefully it does. So I think that's it. Everyone understand now, right? With all of my, this is so ghetto fabulously low tech. Anyway, everyone, I hope this makes sense. Leave me a comment if you're not sure or if I wasn't clear about other things. But other than that, I wish you a good day, and hopefully this will upload soon. So, little Jewel says goodbye. I think Bentley, who's napping, says goodbye as well. Alright, take care, everyone. Okay, and hopefully this makes sense for everyone now. Alright, bye. Oh, yes, there is no, someone was like, are they related? They are not. They're just father-in-law, daughter-in-law. Okay, he just recognized that she was the better heir to his company, and so he was grooming her because his own biological son just wasn't cutting the making the grades. So, all right, everyone, take care. Bye.